Knudsen.
What is going on, Tursky?
This is Two Guys Talking Golf.
It is. Yet another
Match play week.
Match
play week.
The Dell.
You like match play?
I do.
I think match play is the best way to play golf, in my opinion.
I do love match play, to be honest with you. It's kind of where I fell. It's kind of where I fell in love with the guys like Ian Poulters and the Kisners, the guys that don't necessarily get the love on a normal tournament day. Like, they go out there and just destroy people. They're absolute killers. And it's just fun, man. It's fun to see, and it's interesting to see the matchups, how they come along, and overall, I think it's something I wish they did just a little bit more of. It doesn't have to be every week or anything like that, but I wouldn't mind seeing maybe 3 match play tournaments in a year. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I love match play. Just a little more room for gamesmanship, a little more mental gymnastics going on, which I always appreciate. I think they're all lucky that Tiger's not playing, and he's still out with the injury.
What was Tiger's match play
lose.
record though? I don't remember him being insanely crazy. Was he?
Well, he won 3 junior AMs, 3 US AMs, and then I think he won the match play 2 or 3 times. He also beat Stephen Ames 9 and 8.
that was one of those amazing golf. That was the most amazing golf in the history of golf.
I know. Ames just threw the tiniest shot ever too. He was just Tiger's not hitting it that great right now, and Tiger was that's all he needed to just stomp on him. I love that. Each year when those highlights get circulated again and again and again, I watch them and I like them every single time. I love it.
Because I've done it before. How can you not stream that whole tournament? Or just that match? How can you not stream it? There's little highlight pieces you can find on YouTube and all that. That's fine. I want to see the full thing. I want to see the carnage from the start to the end. How does somebody not have that ready to go?
There should be a channel where it's just that on a loop. Yeah. I would probably watch
just
it
over and over again. Exactly.
All right, so we have a cool little show today. We promised a guest last week. We never promised guests. We don't do a lot of guests here, actually. But we promised a guest last week, a man who was playing Itobori irons and wedges, the coolest things we had ever seen. And we promised to get world long drive champion Maurice Allen on the show. We came through.
We did.
And the show did not disappoint. This guy has the coolest collection of shoes, shafts, clubs, drivers, staff bags I think I've ever seen. So I guess what we're going to do, we're going to keep the intro short today. We'll go through some of the tour gear topics that I have written down, and then we'll get right to the interview because it was long.
Yeah.
I think we went about 45 minutes on the interview. But we don't want to make the podcast 2 hours long today.
No.
We got a couple tour topics.
But and the other thing too is Maurice Allen's just a cool dude. He's a guy I would love to sit at a bar with, have a drink, and just have him tell stories. Because we got into a ton of stuff, but I can only imagine if you just off the record put him in there. It had to be crazy. So
if you're in
Detroit, Maurice Allen.
We just broke the surface of the stories and information that he has to tell. But first, for the tour topics, we'll try to get through these as fast as possible. There was some cool stuff going on this week. So we'll start with Paul Casey. So I don't know if you've been keeping up with this or what, but at the beginning of the year, Paul Casey added a little weight to the bottom of his Scotty Cameron GSS Proto putter. He's basically been playing the same putter for 10 years. I can't remember the last time he wasn't playing this putter. And it just had a smooth sole, nothing weird about it. Then when the year changed, he came out with a putter that had a little weight on the sole, and people were starting to chirp. They were trying to speculate why he had the weight. Only one weight in the heel, So
exactly, only one weight.
Was he trying to lighten weight? Was he trying to make it heavier? Why would he do that? And everyone was just kind of popping off in the Golf to BRX forums about it. And then at the Players, he added a dot to the top line. And people got to chirping again. Why did he add the dot? And still, what's the deal with the weight? People are trying to figure out this weight. So I saw Paul Casey in Austin, and it looked like he was kind of in a rush, and I was like, hey, Paul, you got like 1 quick second for Golf WRX? And it's like he was waiting for months for me to come up to him. He was just like, yes, I'm happy you asked. Like, are you going to ask about the putter? And I was like, yep, let's talk about the putter. So apparently he's been kind of reading like on Instagram. He's been seeing all the posts, and then he was reading in the Golf WRX forums all the posts and speculation about this weight. So he finally answered the question. he was kind of just roasting people. It was great. He was like, people have no, I'm quoting him right now. He said, people have no idea. It's quite funny. I read a post the other day, some guy claiming he knew what was going on. The guy was like, oh, he drilled it out and he removed weight from the heel. He was like, that's where he started getting fired out. He's like, basically, no, you idiot. Like, we're not taking out weight by adding a weight in. We're adding weight. He was like, Scotty Cameron, every time he drills a hole out, you lose about 6 grams at that size. And the plug is about 12 to 13 grams, which is a net gain of about 6 to 7 grams. He said adding weight to the heel is like adding weight to the heel of a driver. It makes the toe a little lighter, makes the toe faster, and in other words, it makes the putter rotate more. So he wasn't getting enough rotation throughout his stroke, and based on like the arc of his stroke, it was kind of shut to that arc. It wasn't shut in general, but shut to the arc. So he wanted the toe moving a little faster, so they add in the weight in the heel. Pretty much as simple as that, you know. But it was great to hear that he was kind of clapping back at the Golf WRX people. And then I asked him about the dot as well. So he put up a video of his stroke on his own Instagram account, like one of those worm eye views where you have the camera set up like right along the ground. And he noticed when he pressed publish on the Instagram video, he was watching it back and he was like, wait a second, I'm lining up on the toe. He was like, I have this putter like misaligned. No wonder I strike it out on the toe too much. So he doesn't like a line, so he got a dot added. Originally, they just Sharpied on a little dot, and then he got one officially made by Scotty. I just thought the whole interaction was hilarious because he was like just ready to pop off about this putter, and he did. He let people have it. But we got the explanation.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing now, like going back and like I'm looking at the video right now, that like on the back of his new putter, he's got like, you know, 3 stamps in the cavity. He's got like a smiley face, a peace sign, and a little flower. And when you look at when he lines, and the peace sign's pretty much dead center. And when he lines up, it is like on the edge of the peace sign. Like he's lining it up just a little bit off the toe, which is pretty funny.
Right, and that's what he noticed.
A little bit.
He threw the dot on, and I think he made some positive improvements recently based on it. So
that's amazing. But yeah, I love that he's reading WRX though. That's amazing.
I know. You rarely get people that are like willing to even respond. They're like, you know, a lot of the pros, even the ones that like me and Greg will know are in there, you know, they'll pretend they're not, even though they might be lurking, just seeing what's going on. Now let's get to one of the coolest what's in the bag setups I've seen on the PGA Tour in a little bit. I hope I'm not overhyping it, but have you seen Richard Bland's setup?
No. And I'm going to just let everybody know who's listening that I'm probably not going to know a ton about what Tursky's saying because I was not around Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I literally just got home. So
are you allowed to talk about what you were doing? You can't talk about what you were doing yet, right?
I can't. I can talk about where I was, but I can't talk about what I was necessarily doing, yeah. So,
all right, well,
let's get into Bland. I just pulled it up.
Okay. All right.
We'll talk about that after. Let's get into Bland. I just pulled it up.
Gotcha.
So I've got it here in front of me.
So Richard Bland, he has a burner Superfast 5-wood from 2010.
Wow. Yeah.
So I cornered him on the range. I said, Richard. I said, Mr. Bland, we got to talk equipment here. What's the deal with the burner Superfast? He's like, mate, I haven't changed that club, and it hasn't come out of the bag since it got released. He said I took it out one time for one round at Torrey Pines for the U.S. Open.
That's
where
it.
he put in a 7-wood. One time in 12 to 13 years. I don't know if he started playing it like before it actually got released or on the release date, but he's been playing it about 12, 13 years, and he said it's been in my bag ever since. And I was like, do you think the technology still holds up? Now, here's where the conversation got a little interesting on me. I said, do you think the technology still holds up? He's like, honestly, with ball speeds like lower than a driver, when you're talking about 3 woods, 5 woods, 7 woods, like even hybrids, he's like, technology doesn't really matter. He's like, I want shots. He's like, I want shots. I want to hit it low. I want to hit it high. I want to hit a draw. I want to hit a cut. He's like, you don't get that kind of versatility with new technology. He's like, now, if you're looking for more consistent numbers or to hit like one specific shot a little higher and straighter, new technology is great. But for my purpose, he's like, I want to have an arsenal of shots. And he's like, that's why when you go through bags now, even on the Pro Tours, you'll see 3 woods and 5 woods that are 5, 6 years old. Maybe not 12 years old,
yeah,
but 5 to 6 years old. So I thought that was just incredibly interesting, and you don't see a lot of burner super fast original releases out there. So that was quite cool to look at. And then kind of when you go like down further into his set, you realize there's something else going on too. So his irons, he has a split set of irons, but it's not different models. It's not only different models, it's also completely different brands.
Yeah.
So, he has Hanma Rose Proto 8 through pitching wedge with the rose part scratched out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'm like, I was looking at it, I was like, there's something there. And yeah, they've ground off rose, so it just says Proto, and he's got the 7, 8, 9, and 10 iron in the bag. Or I'm sorry,
is it 7? Yeah, no, I think it's just 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, 8, 9, and 10.
But he's got the rose scratched out. They are the Rose Proto Hanma irons from when Rose like joined up with Hanma. He helped co-design the irons, and he scratched off the rose, which I just thought was classic. And then he's got Callaway Apex Pro, right? Apex Pro 7 through 3. And his whole philosophy just about like setting up the bag, he's like, I'm not tied to a brand anymore. He was like, I was with TaylorMade, for years and years. I think he said 15 years. And then kind of when I got out of that contract, because he's like, obviously I'm not making the Dustin and Rory contract money. He's like, I'd much rather just play what I want through the bag. So I just test products that I think will be good. If someone hears, if I hear like in the locker room, people are like, oh, the Ping, the Titleist, the TaylorMade driver is so good, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, I can just go try it. Like, I don't have to worry about a contract. And we talk about that a lot on this show, about contracts and free agency and playing what you want. And I think that's just a feather in the cap of play what is best for you, like no matter what the brand says on the club. Like, here's a guy who like he mixed his set of irons with different brands. Like, you never see it. You might see someone throwing like a driving iron from a different company or maybe long irons, but like splitting the setup in that fashion, you just don't see that. And I think that's like what people need to be a bit more willing to do, is just kind of test everything and literally play the clubs that are best instead of like trying to tie in a brand for no reason.
And the other thing too is like he's playing a brand new Stealth Plus driver, 10.5 Stealth Plus driver, but he's got like a Mitsubishi Diamana Kailai. Now I know the Kailai name just like came back. No. This is the old one from like it's that old. It's like the blue Ion where the top half is silver and the bottom half is blue. I had one in a Callaway FT Tour, which tells you how long ago that was. That was back when like FT9 was out and all that. So let's call it like 10 plus years ago. That shaft was out, and he's got it in a brand new Stealth Plus head. So just a really interesting combo. And then he's got high toe wedges, like high toe 50-54. Cool. Like, the guy's just playing what he wants, man.
He was doing all this talking about like how technology doesn't really mean that much, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, well, you got the new Stealth driver in there, like what are you seeing with that, et cetera? And he's like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I like it. I like the feel. I like the sound. He's like, but I do keep the 2016 M2 driver head with me wherever I go.
Oh.
And he's like, so I tell my Stealth, I say, hey, look, you better perform or else I got something coming off the bench for you to replace you.
That now the shaft makes a little more sense.
Exactly.
Because I was like, I mean, we all know the pros can get older stuff. You know, if they want an old shaft, an old grips, whatever, they get pretty much whatever they want. But I was like, that shaft hasn't been probably made in forever. Like, how was he getting his hands on one? But now knowing that he has the old driver head, like, still laying around, he had it in that driver, and he just put it in the new one.
Exactly. He just changes out the heads. He ain't changing that shaft. That's for sure.
No.
And speaking of old fairway woods, do you have some bourbon or scotch you can pour out? Because we got to pour one out. It's official.
Oh, no.
Scotty Scheffler officially changed to the Stealth 3 wood. The Nike's out. The Nike VR Pro Limited. It's sad.
Finally gone. I mean,
officially switched this week at the match play. Yeah, we all saw it coming. The writing was on the wall.
We knew. Oh, that's a bummer, though. You know?
So I have a full explanation.
It made a good run.
I have a full explanation of why. Would you like me to read it? It's a little lengthy, but if you're curious about why. Okay, so this is from Todd Chu, TaylorMade's senior tour rep, who I believe worked directly with Scotty on the Switch. So I'm going to read this. You know, I'm not great at reading. I'm just kidding. Let's see how it goes. I'll try to one take it. Okay. So Todd says, after testing the Stealth 15-degree head in the preseason, which was simply going too far for the types of shots Scotty was trying to hit, in Palm Springs we built him a Stealth 3 HL high launch, 16.5 head with a Ventus 8X shaft. Its previous 3-wood was about 12.5 degrees of loft, and in order to match launch conditions and distance with the Stealth, we had to go to the Stealth 3 high launch, make it an inch shorter, and finish loft at 16 degrees. We were really close with matching launch conditions, which was very important to Scotty. It was coming out of a different window because of the difference in loft and heads, and he has been able to figure out how to flight it the way he wants to flight it. The benefits of the 16.5 degree head are that he can hit it much higher and farther if he wants, but also match previous conditions, which were low and had more spin. He could actually do more with the Stealth 15-degree head, but it would go way too far. With the titanium Stealth Plus head, he could hit even further, but that's not what he needs from this club. The 16.5 Stealth head is more of a weapon because of the added distance and height capability he can get when he wants it. This is the benefit of taking a lot of the spin out of the head and being able to use more loft compared to older technology. With the previous club, you wouldn't want to launch it higher in the air because it would spin way too much. With today's technology taking so much spin out of the club, you can use more loft, which makes the club so much more playable and versatile. That was a long quote. I had to gear up for that.
It's interesting.
That was a lot of words right there, but very interesting. Seriously, very interesting.
I mean, I get it. It really is. I mean, like the way they're talking about, you know, you can't really replicate the same launch conditions because, you know, of the new technology and stuff being lower spin and launching higher and da-da-da. And to basically match the same thing is almost a 4-degree difference, you know, in head to match what he was looking for or to accomplish from his old fairway wood, which is pretty crazy to think about.
4-degree difference. How about that?
That's wild.
I know.
And they go the same length, or they go the same distance, all that stuff. Like, that's crazy. But, again, like he said, I mean, those heads back then had a ton of spin, and that, you know, they had to have lower launch to control the spin, to keep the ball flight down, all that. So it makes sense. It's just kind of crazy to think about.
It's a really sad day, though. We're losing a lot of the Nike golf clubs that are out there. There's not a lot left floating.
Well, I mean, a couple Nike Vaporfly Pro 3 irons, and that's about it.
McNeely's irons,
3 irons, that's all.
And they'll be out soon, I'm sure. Because I know Callaway's building protos, so the Nike days are almost officially over. Very sad.
That is.
So those were the 3 most important gear topics from this week. Before we get into the interview, let's talk about your news real quick. Where were you at this week? Without saying too much. Let's not get you in trouble here. But what were you up to?
I did want to say before I talk about that, going through some of you and Greg's what's in the bag stuff. Do you think that Callaway really hates Kevin Na's bag because it's pretty much all Callaway and none of it's new?
Probably. I think they like that it's all Callaway at least for the most part.
Other than the hybrids, yeah, but none of it's.
But yeah, I mean, all the companies, they all have fitters and they all show them new product and they try to get them in new product.
Yeah.
And if performance isn't like hugely different, some of these guys, they don't love to change, especially a guy like Kevin Na, who once he's comfortable with something, he doesn't really want to switch. So it's not like they can't blame him.
No.
He'll switch to the new stuff when he's ready, They're probably like, come on. They're probably like, come on, Kevin. Like,
nothing?
Throwing the new driver?
Not one club?
The driver's really good. How about the driver?
You put in a Mitsubishi prototype Kailai Blue, but you can't put any new clubs in.
Is it not pronounced Kylie?
Is it Kylie or Kailai? I don't know. I thought it was Kailai from back in the day. Maybe it's Kylie. It wouldn't be the first time I pronounced a shaft wrong. So
I'll have to ask someone about that. You're the shaft wizard.
I know, but the names sometimes are tough. I'm not well cultured.
Okay, so where were you? Because you were in my neck of the woods, but I was not in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I literally was hoping you were around, so I had a couch to sleep on. But I was down in Scottsdale, Arizona, home of the Andrew Tursky.
Yes,
and
sir.
I was there at one of the most, I would say probably one of the most exclusive golf clubs in the country.
Yep.
Scottsdale National. And I was down there for some new product stuff. But, it was – I'd never been there before. It was my first time being at Scottsdale National. And it is an absolutely mind-blowing place. I mean, just absolutely mind-blowing. It is.
I think that's where Bob Parsons is a member.
He owns it.
Oh.
And it's extremely exclusive. It's invite only to get in. You don't. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You don't just walk in and say, "Hey, here's my money. Take it," and I'm a member. You are chosen. There are not many members, from what I've heard, but the place is just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just everything is done just absolutely top notch. Like, we stayed in these
the villas.
A bunch of what's that?
The villas.
Yeah. So we stayed in these villas that housed it had 4 bedrooms. Each bedroom had a bathroom. They were enormous. They had electric shades that went up and down by just hitting a button. And then a communal area, and the 4 guys that were in, or the 3 other guys that were in the same villa as me, all just commented like, this communal area is way nicer than my house.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just, like I said, I mean, those accommodations, ridiculously nice. I mean, everything. Everybody on staff at that place was insane. Like, there was nobody having a bad day on staff. Like, everybody was super nice. The food, I would be hard-pressed to say I've ever had better food than that I had there in terms of meals. And it was pretty. It was just a really crazy experience, and it was one of those ones you'll never forget it.
And you played with Kevin from The Office, right?
I did. Brian Baumgartner. We played golf together. We played 18. I lost to him and Andy Sullivan. Myself and Ryan Knoll played a little 2-man best ball, and Brian dropped at least 2 60-footers on us for birdies.
I played with him like 5 years ago at a similar event. So I believe what you were talking about, and we were playing like a 2-on-2, and he dropped like 2 60-footers on me as well. Like, what's his deal?
Dropped 2 60-footers. the guy can putt, and he likes to talk a little smack.
Yeah, he does.
He drops a 60-footer on you.
He's a funny dude too.
And he takes it. Like, when he hits a bad shot or whatever, like, he'll take it right back. And then we had Mr. Andy Sullivan, who is the average golfer from across the pond. Had a hole in one, 16th hole.
Wow!
Dropped a hole in one. Hit a shot,
cool.
Never left the flag. Hit, bounced, rolled, disappeared.
Was he going crazy?
Oh yeah, well, all of us were. All 4 of us were. We were just like jumping on each other and high-fiving. And it was It was unbelievable. But it is a really special play. I mean, the course is, like I said, desert golf. I've only played it a handful of times, but man, I mean, that course is in absolutely perfect condition. You don't have to rake the bunkers. There are no rakes. You can't rake a bunker. You can't fix a divot. Like, there's no like seed or sand or anything like that. Like, there's people who are like out on the course who just come into holes and rake the bunkers. And
you'll never see them though.
Fill the divots.
They hide in the bushes.
You don't. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, they're like ninjas.
Yeah, they hide
come
in
out.
the cacti.
Yeah, they rake the bunkers. You never even know. Never going to notice them. It's pretty cool. It is a pretty cool little experience out there. But you learned about some golf clubs as well, right? You can't talk about them, I'm assuming. But you learned about
I can't
some
talk
golf
about
clubs.
anything yet.
Okay.
I learned about, and maybe even hit a few. Hit a few of these alleged golf clubs.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I said, had dinner with Dr. Bob Parsons, sat right next to him, talked some cars, talked some trucks, some other stuff, and
Did you talk some watches?
Cool. So
I know you're a watch guy.
not with him, but Brian.
I bet he's got some fire.
Mr. Brian Baumgartner, him and I talked a little watches. So he
what did he have on the wrist?
Fire. He had a really special piece. He had a Richard Mille RM010 in rose gold, and he had it on a green strap, and that was the first Richard Mille I've actually seen in person, and it was. I now understand why they're so expensive.
What's the price tag on it, you think?
I don't know what retail was. They trade for about $220,000 now.
Oh.
Little under that.
You could get like 2 Ferraris for the price of one Richard Mille.
Yeah, him and I talked a little bit of watches before, like while we were playing. But the best conversation I had with him was we were sitting there at lunch. We were sitting at this bar having lunch. He's eating a quesadilla. Looked delicious. He said it was good. I ordered the same quesadilla. It was delicious. And I was waiting I was going to do a little interview with Bob. So I was waiting, and him and I are, and they're running a little late. So Brian and I are sitting there talking, and, we're asking each other, what's your bucket list course, da-da-da-da, all that jazz. And then I'm like, we start talking about grips, like golf grips. And he's like, hey, he's like, how do you like the grips that are on, that are on some of these clubs, and da-da-da. And we went down a whole road of just talking about golf grips. And I was sitting there for at least 20 minutes talking about golf grips that I like and the differences between different golf grips from Golf Pride and Lambkin and whoever to Kevin from The Office.
You guys are such golf nerds.
Dude, and like I said, the guy is so nice. Like, I almost forgot he was Kevin. Like, it was just a dude. Like, we were just talking grips, talking courses, whatever. And he's a super, super nice dude. But he's sneaky good at golf. Like, he doesn't have an Adams...
He's like a 7-8 handicap, right?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I think he said 7. And he doesn't have like an Adam Scott swing. But I'll tell you what, he'll drop 60-footers on you. He'll hit, when he needs to hit a drive down the middle, he hits it down the middle. The guy can play. So
I'm really trying to refrain from any like Office references. I really want to quote some Office shows, but out of respect for him, I mean, he probably gets that everywhere he walks.
Oh.
Every shot he hits, someone's yelling at him like, "Don't drop the chili." So like that,
There was some chili references
just all the time. That's
there were some chili references made, but I can't remember what it was. There was something he did. I don't know if he made a birdie or he did something on the course, and I was like, I said something about like, "Don't make me start calling you Kevin." He just laughed. I was like, just trying to get in his head, and it didn't work. But yeah, so we unfortunately lost our match against Brian and Andy. But like, if you lose to a guy who made a hole in one and a guy who makes 2 60-footers, there's not a lot.
That's not on you.
You can do.
That's not on you. It's not your day.
We were up 2. I don't remember what happened on 15, but we lost. Oh no, 15. He drops the 20-footer. Or 60-footer, Brian does. We lose the hole. We're up 1. Next hole, 16. Andy, hole in 1. Lose the hole. And I hit a good shot. Like, I hit a shot to like 12 feet, pin high. Didn't matter. And then we went on to 16, and we're done. Like, we're cooked. They're in our heads. We lose 17 to lose the match. And it was just like, done. Just donezo. So...
You'll never watch The Office the same way now. It's like, damn, that guy really got the best of me out there.
When you first meet him, though, it's weird because his voice is just a normal guy's voice.
Yeah,
He doesn't speak like the character.
He was just playing a role in The Office, which is it's like jarring at first. It's like, wait a second, and then he's just like the normalest dude ever, super funny, good at golf, just a pleasure to be around, really in general.
Just a good dude, man. He was
a lot
he
like
was super
yourself,
cool.
Brian.
That...
A lot like yourself.
Yeah, a little bit. So he, like I said, I gave him a little education in golf grips, and but we had a great time. So if anyone listening ever gets the chance to go play Scottsdale National or visit or do whatever, go. It is absolutely amazing. So,
well, I'm sorry I missed you while you were in my neck of the woods in Scottsdale. We'll have to play some desert golf when we get a chance, but that was the intro part of this podcast. Now we're moving on to the headlining event. Maurice Allen, by far the longest hitting guy we've ever had on the podcast, one of the longest hitting guys in the planet, and this was really just a pleasure of an interview. We covered all sorts of subjects, everything. We saw his shoe closet.
Yep.
We heard his take on the financials of long drive, a little bit of Bryson, how far he hits the ball, his tips. So let's get into that right now. This is Maurice Allen. Knudsen.
What's going on?
We got a special guest in the building. We promised people on the last podcast we were going to get this interview at some point. We didn't know how quick it was going to happen, but we got it going this week. Maurice Allen, the longest driver we've definitely ever had on the show. Welcome. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Chilling, man. Glad to be a part of the program.
Yeah.
So you know what we do here? We do mostly gear, equipment, and you wowed our Golf WRX members. I think it was last week with your Ito Bori irons and wedges. Probably, and not even probably, literally the coolest irons and wedges I've ever seen. So you kind of got to give us the backstory. We really don't know much about this company at all.
Yeah. So the thing about it, man, it's funny when I started Long Drive. This was 2010. Yeah, 2011 was my first season. Believe it or not, I never had. So the first sponsor I had was an American company, Pride Sports. They do what's that? Black Widow, the spikes.
Oh, yeah.
And they do the tees that everyone knows, but no one knows who they are.
Which
is hilarious. That was my first sponsor, and then everything after that wasn't an American company. It was all either Japanese, Korean, or Chinese, and that's what it was. And so I've been over there a bunch, and when I tell you there are some clubs over there that, dude, you have no idea the amount of swag and over-the-top craftsmanship. I mean, no disrespect over here. I know everybody, remember when PXG first came out, they were like, oh my God, they're the most expensive irons in the world.
Yep.
Nah, bro. Not even close, not even close. So the Itabori, Taka reached out to me. Man, it was like right after I won World Championships, and it was like, hey, we had been talking. We actually met at the PGA show, and he was like, man, you were so nice to me. You're such a great guy, and we had been talking on Facebook at that time. For a while, he's like, do you know what I do? I was like, nah, you were just cool, and we were having basic conversations about golf. I don't, go and look up people because that's not what I do. I really don't care. Like, if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. What you do is irrelevant because I'm not trying to leverage a situation. I just like being around cool people. It's like, oh, I'm a club builder. I make these clubs. And I was like, okay. And then showed me a picture. I was like,
yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's the face I was making when I saw your clubs.
So he sent them to me, and he was like, 3 through lob wedge, and I was like, thanks. How much do I owe you? And he was like, nothing. It's cool. We'll
Damn.
give them to you.
Ooh.
It's our gift to you for winning world championships. And I was like, all right, that's one of the coolest gifts I got. It's not the coolest gift, but it was definitely for world championships. That might have been one of the coolest gifts. Got some cool gifts for some other stuff, but World Championships, that was definitely. And so, he sent them to me, and then he kept hounding me. He was like, "Have you been playing the irons?" I was like, "Hell no, I ain't playing the irons." I'm like, "I don't want to get dirt on them." He was like, "No, just play them, just play them." And so I'd play them in celebrity events, but I'd never really play them. And then I started really getting used to them. I was like, "Damn, I don't want to get used to these because I don't think I'll ever get another set. Number two, I don't even know how much it is to get a set, and I don't think I want to know." I can't afford these. Like, and I think they're probably like $7-8 grand for the set, including the wedges. And I was just like, oh my God. But the softest feeling irons I have ever hit in my entire life. Like, wow. I don't even know what else to tell you. Like, and I've hit nothing. The funny thing is, I don't own any U.S. clubs at all. I haven't.
Oh, really?
You've seen my golf room. You have not seen my golf room.
No.
Are we going to get a tour?
Yeah, I'll take you on a tour today.
All right, cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like I signed a contract with 14, and everybody knows 14 their wedges, but I signed a contract with them back in 15. I signed a contract with them, and I literally won a mini tour event the second week of my contract. So it was perfect. Like, took the clubs in play, and I was like, all right, let's roll. And then I was with 14 for a long time. Then this company called Rev, who makes my shafts that I use. Like, everybody talks about my wedge shafts because they're in my driver shafts. They're camo, right? They're like pink camo or blue camo, and there's a black camo. But everything they do, they're based out of Japan. The camo is like their thing. That's what they're into, which is, you would think is like a redneck thing from the South, but it's actually a Japanese company. And it's funny because every time I go somewhere in the South, they're like, "Damn, I love them shafts." I'm like,
right.
I guess, whatever. Like, I don't get the camo thing, but
okay, weirdo, get away from it.
it's a distinctive thing for them. And they made a set of irons that were really, really good. So I was like, all right. And then I hit the Itsupores, and they were a step up on that. I was like, dang. So now it's like I look at the American companies, and I'm like, man, I don't want to hit any of that. Never. It was like, oh man, you got to try new titles. No, I'm good, bro. I'm straight. I'm gonna rock with what I
if it's from America, I don't want it.
It is crazy as that sounds, even though the stuff is made over there, but the Japanese forging is on a whole nother level. Like 14, the wedges that they make are absolutely ridiculous. Actually, 14 has a brand new limited edition set of irons that come out like in, I think it's tomorrow, and they're only selling 10 sets in the U.S. Period. That's it.
10. Wow, 10. That's 10.
10.
That's a little too limited.
That's
a little too limited.
It's 10 sets. It's $2,000 for the set, but good luck getting them. There's 10 sets. That is it. Like
how do you even get on that list? How do you even get on the list to get 10? One of 10.
I don't know. I ain't on the list.
Yeah, I'm not on the list.
I mean,
if you're not on the list, I'm definitely not on the list.
I know. I think it's just going to be kind of like the sneakers app. First come, first serve, whoever jumps on there. But, I mean...
You got to set up a bot
you probably
to beat all the people that are trying to get them.
But I was like, $2,000. I mean, they looked sexy, though. But I was like, man, $2,000 for some irons. I mean, I've been blessed enough where I don't think I have purchased anything golf-related, especially clubs or anything like that, in I don't know how many years. And I'm like, I do owe the game $2,000, but I don't need to buy another set of irons. And like, they are kind of dope. There are only 10 sets. I think I want to love them, but the $2,000 in them just is like,
that's out of my price range.
Yeah, I mean, so you think about it. It just doesn't work out.
What's the connection between like Japanese companies and the World Long Drive Tour? Like, how do you end up getting...
in Japan, they compete every week. Every week.
Oh, really?
There's a tournament every week in Japan. Like, it is, and there's so many different people that are competing. It's against all age groups. Sexes, gender, age, the whole thing. Like, it's a whole thing. And so you go over there, and they have this elevated tee box that's lit on both sides. It's the dope. Like, hitting at night over there is the most beautiful thing ever because it's tree lined on both sides. You're hitting in a tunnel. You don't have to worry about if the ball's OB. I promise you, because you're knocking on wood. It don't matter. Like but it's so cool. But they take it to a whole nother level. Like, I have to send you some videos. It's so hyped up. But you can't, like, in the way how they do it, you can't compete over there unless you're a Japanese citizen. So I think I'm the only person to win the Japanese national championship because I got in there on a sponsor's exemption.
Okay.
But you don't. It's a place where you don't get to compete unless you're from there. They're going to host the Women's World Championships there this year, and that's mainly because that's where the bulk of the women are competing. Japan has probably 70 women that are hitting the ball, and it's crazy.
So where do you compete mostly on the long drive tour? Obviously, we know like the World Championships.
Yeah,
but where else do you go?
It's weird right now, right? The long drive's in a very weird state after losing Golf Channel. I know everybody's big on Bryson, saying Bryson brought a lot to the World Long Drive, but he honestly didn't. I mean, he came in last year and went to World Championships. It didn't get on TV. He didn't move the needle from a stance of no one was bringing a camera crew out there to watch him. And I don't have anything against Bryson. I actually like Bryson as a human being and as a person. He and I talked on several occasions. But the problem with long drive is long drive. It's never been marketed correctly. And unfortunately, it's like anything else. When you have people in it that don't know how to do things the right way, and then you keep moving those same people up the ladder, you're not getting a different perspective. You're not getting new blood into it. And that's not going to change things. I mean, look at the world of golf. If Top Golf never came along, where would golf be right now? It would be in a very poor state. But somebody came in with a brand new concept, with new blood, brought something to the table. Obviously, Callaway jumped on it and bought out Top Golf. And so that's throwing them in a whole other market of being able to move their product. But that's kind of what Long Drive needs. It needs somebody new, somebody with a different perspective. And I've been trying my best since I got into it to kind of get people to look at it that way. Like, one of the problems we had, especially here in the U.S., is I think one year we went to 5 different Greenvilles. We went to Greenville, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville, Tennessee, Greenville, Pennsylvania. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you go to small towns and you're trying to grow a sport? Like, you're only going to get 1% of the population at best. Would you be better going to Greenville, Tennessee and getting 1% of the population, or Memphis? You know what I mean? Like, go to a bigger pool where you can catch more in the net. And then when you're doing these things, make it something that looks good. You know, when they put it on TV, it was live, it was boring. It was completely boring. You had the guys on the sport who thought that they were somebody great because they could hit the ball 400 yards. Well, the problem is you look on the PGA Tour, you see people hit 400-yard drives every now and again. Conditions are different. Yes, I totally understand that. Ball speeds are different. Launch is different. All this other stuff. But you had to turn it into WWE. You know, people were watching me because I made it entertaining. Like, no one cared if I hit the ball 380 or 400. If I was yelling and screaming and doing stuff in the camera, people got into it. Made it easy.
Yeah.
Was that, like, intentional? I mean, were you trying to play it up a little bit? Or do you try to play it up?
In my life, man. Honestly, it was literally the dumbest moment. I almost wish I had never done the whole Ric Flair thing to an extent. But it was cool for the moment, right? It was just something that was amped up. I mean, I think if you hit a ball 483, you shouldn't just like tip the cap and act like the cool kid, right?
No. Yeah, right. You got so much adrenaline pumping too, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's what made it cool. It's like I was relatable. But when you look at the sport of long drive, it's everywhere. At least at one point it was. Now they're trying to bring it back, and there are 2 different organizations kind of peeing on the same tree. One's going to knock one out. One's going to survive. Hopefully they don't do too much damage in their fights between each other. But I think as a sport, at one point, it was everywhere. You could compete in North America, South America. Europe had events every week. Australia was having events. Africa was having events. So it was everywhere on the globe. Now, there's just no sponsorship. There's no money in it. Obviously, if there's no TV, putting it on YouTube and social media doesn't bring sponsors. So it's got to find its way back somehow, some way.
So how does a long driver make money right now? Obviously, you have competition, you have sponsorship, but how does a long driver like supplement the income? I mean, I'm assuming you don't have like a day job, so you're bringing it on somewhere.
Who you are, right? So how does I get this question all the time. People trying to come into the sport. How do I get into the sport of long drive? You don't. At this point, there's no money in it. It's a hobby for a guy coming up. I've been in a situation where I'm blessed enough to be on things like Valspar, the content we did there, do content with Scratch. I've always had more publicity than anybody else in the sport, so that gives me more eyeballs, right? So if you're looking at brand recognition, brand awareness, impressions, things like that, I have that, which makes it easier to get sponsorships compared to anyone else, especially when it's not on TV, because even though it's not on TV, I'm still on TV. I'm still doing things. I'm still doing, for instance, podcasts like this. People still know who I am. So it makes things different compared to a guy who's just starting out. And, well, where does he make his name known? Who's writing up on him? Or you guys, he could put a viral video out, but then where does it go from there? What's going on? So that part makes it extremely hard. And even in the heyday of long drive, there may be 4 or 5 guys and 2 ladies at best that was their full-time job.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you do mention, I mean, you are, you're on the internet. You're all over the place. We see you and basically Kyle Berkshire, and that's it from long drive for the most part. When you jump on Instagram or you go on YouTube or whatever, you two are the guys. And, but I think like you said, not being on TV, but the streaming side I think is getting bigger, and golf is still a little older. They're not quite there yet, but I think the up and coming younger players who are now finding guys like yourself and other who express themselves through their game and their staff bag, their clubs, all that. And I think they can relate to that. And I think the streaming side of it may become a huge part, somewhat soon. But again, I think, as these young kids get in, we could see more and more growth in that long drive side.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is you have to have competitions. It doesn't need to be live. What needs to happen is it needs to turn into, for lack of better words, and I really mean this loosely, a reality TV show, right? Yeah. The problem that you had before was you didn't have a clue how you got to those 8 guys that were on TV. You know what I mean? If you had a competition, let's say you had one a month, and you found a way to edit it and make 3 or 4 episodes so that you would be going from time to time in between competitions, you'd never lose anything. You'd follow guys when they first get there. You get to see the rounds. You do the interviews. You see how people compete. And then you start to build a fan base because people would know who they are pulling for. And that's never happened. You just randomly see 8 dudes out there and you're like, oh, well, who's this? And if a guy's having a great season, then you're familiar with this person because they were on the last show that you saw. But then you'll get some guy who comes out of nowhere and you'll be like, who the hell's that? Or there are only people that showed up, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's as hard as it actually is. I mean, World Championships were a great example. There's, almost 200 people there. And then you dwindle it down to the 16 you see on TV, and no one knows how you got there at all.
That's true.
They used to do it very well. When Golf Channel first got the TV rights for Long Drive, it was LDA at that particular time. But when they did that, and they had episodes. I think they did 6 episodes leading into the World Championship, and they showed people going through the qualifying. They gave some backstory and sentimental stuff and all this other thing. But you got to see the process before you got to the final 8 guys that were at the racetrack that year. And so people were like, oh, okay, this guy's a military guy. Okay, I like him. Or this person's this. This person's a family guy. Okay, I like. And that was the thing that brought the fan base. And then eventually that stopped. And it was a great idea, but they should have done that with the tour stops as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's unfortunate. What year did you win the World Long Drive?
I won World Championships in 2018.
Nice. And how far did you hit? Yeah. We got to start getting into some numbers here. We got a long drive guy on the podcast. Let's talk some numbers.
393 all carry. So it was 2 inches of water in the 2 inches of water in the grid that day. So you weren't going to get any run.
Oh my God.
Yep.
93.
So
when you watch all right.
Go ahead.
When you watch a PGA Tour and you see a guy like a Bryson or whoever, Cameron Champ, whatever, and the announcers all go like, "Oh man, he really got all of that. He really ripped it. That's 332 right down the middle. Oh my gosh." Do you just sit back and kind of chuckle and be like,
No,
that's it?
actually, I don't.
That's all you got?
No, so for me, I look at it like it is completely different.
Yeah.
They're trying to hit a 40-yard fairway in a 10-yard wide lane on that fairway, right? Because they're looking at the angle that they need to have into a tucked pin versus a long drive guys just trying to hit the grid. You know, some guys are trying to go up the right side, some guys are trying to go up the left side. And I've seen some really amazing things there, but instead of, I hate to compare and contrast long drive and golf. I think they all have their own individual beauty, and they should be respected for what they have. I think too many times in life we try to compare stuff rather than just enjoy it, and then we look back at it and we're like, oh man, that was so amazing. We'll probably never see that again. Well, you shouldn't have been so busy trying to tear it down. You just should have really enjoyed it. So when I'm watching these guys go out there and do their thing, I mean, I remember I went to a clinic once, and there were two of us doing this clinic. It was me and another PGA Tour player who I won't name. And I'm out there hitting balls at the time, and I'm ripping them, booming it out the back of the range. Everybody's like, oh my God, that's great. PGA Tour player takes this serving tray, right? Like a dinner, like a platter, like, you know, like you're going for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Plops that joker at 100 yards, starts dinging the ball off the damn tray.
Oh my
I'm
God.
looking at that like,
Wow.
I'm glad I don't have to follow this. But then he's looking at me, he's like, dang, man, what you did was dope.
Yeah.
What the hell you mean what I did was dope? Bro, you just literally hit a serving tray from 100 yards. Or it's like watching Annika, who does this every time in her exhibitions. She has somebody go out there with a catcher's mitt, with a baseball glove. And she just starts pitching balls at 60 yards and the glove doesn't move. And I'm like, and so like you're sitting there and like there's so much beauty in all these different facets of the game. And you just have to enjoy it for what it is. And I think that's the worst thing that Tiger did for the game is people got used to one person winning. And they don't understand exactly how hard it is to win or the amount of talent that's out there. And you see it in all different sports. I mean, I see the 400-pound dude sitting in the stands. I'm like, oh, that dude sucks. Well, then you go out there and do it. Go ahead. I'll wait. Get your big ass out there and let me know how much you gonna get out there and dunk the damn ball. I mean, like, and that's the part. You know, you're there for entertainment, and I understand you're a fan and you're obviously rooting for your team or the person that you like, but you also need to enjoy just the beauty of it because sometimes there's some things that you think are great and amazing, and you get so accustomed to them, but you'll never see them again. Like that run that Jordan Spieth had when he won the FedEx Cup, when he won, like, think about how crazy that was. Like when, you know, Hendrick Stinson's on the, I think it was a par 3, he stuffs it to 6 feet, Jordan's 50 feet away and drains the putt, and Hendrick looks at him and is like, well, what the hell do you want me to do? Like, what else is there? Like, there's nothing I can do. And looking at that, the moments like that, you just got to be like, damn, that's dope, and just enjoy them.
Kind of speaking to the work that goes in, and like I'm sure you have a speed training regimen. I'm sure you have a fitness regimen. Like, how do you get to a point where you're at now where you hit the ball so far? And is it kind of like natural? I mean, going back to when you were younger, I mean, I'm sure you just have some natural speed, but, you know, what's the work that goes in, especially for like an amateur who maybe wants to increase their distance? Like, what goes into it?
All right, I didn't play golf. I thought playing golf was lame. My dad tried to get me to play golf. I was like, dude, this is white dudes with khakis on, and they look real lame. It's the lamest thing I could ever see. So, no, I don't know. I mean, when I first started hitting the ball, you know, I hit a 7-iron, like, 235 yards, and I thought it was the norm. I didn't know that was something serious, right?
Just out the gate hitting 7 irons.
No, I mean, so how I got into long drive, which is funny, is if you know Steve and Greg Harrison, who own Sick Golf. You all obviously know who they are.
Yep.
That's how I started in the long drive.
Good dudes.
So I was playing golf with my cousin, and I used to play with him just to hang out, you know, with him and my dad and stuff. So I wasn't playing golf. I go out there, hit the ball, ride in the cart just to kick it with him. and one of the clubs broke. So I was like, there's a golf store right by my house. And I went and took it and I was like, hey, man, this club broke. Can y'all fix it? Obviously, if you're at a golf store, what do they try to do? They try to sell you some more clubs. They're like, this set's old. You need it. I was like, yeah, I don't want another set, man. Just fix the damn club. And they were like, well, we need to know how far do you hit a 7-iron? I was like, why is that important? Well, we need to know what shaft to put in there. And I didn't know anything about flex. Like, I had no clue what any of this was. I was like, man, I don't know. And so they had a simulator in there, put the club, hit the ball, and they're all looking like,
like, whoa.
All right. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And they were like, hey, why don't you try this thing called Long Drive? There's a tournament in Wildwood. Well, we're in Tallahassee, and I'm from Orlando. There's actually a city called Wildwood, literally an hour north of Orlando. And I laughed at them. I was like, nah, man, I don't feel like driving back to the house for something I never heard of. And so I go back to my cousin. And I was like, hey, man, it's going to take like a day or so to get your club. My apologies on that. He was like, it wasn't supposed to be that moment anyway. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, okay, because I didn't know anything about gluing clubs either. So here we go with that. And he was like, so what happened? I was like, yeah, I went there. And they was like, I need to go to this place called Wildwood or something like that for some long drive thing. He was like, you idiot, Wildwood's a country club 10 minutes down the road. So he takes me back to Steve's shop, and then they give me Kenny Knox's old driver, a TaylorMade burner, and that's how I got into long drive. So, I mean, I guess maybe I was always long. I don't know, but, I mean, obviously, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into it. You know, you have to figure out how to control the ball. You need to figure out the positions. There's a lot of stress and strain on your body that goes into it. So from the workout standpoint, you have to make yourself able to, everybody's looking at the speed, like how do you build speed, but you also have to be braced for the impact of stopping. Remember, that club has to stop at some point. Yeah. So the left side of your body has to be able to take the blow of stopping, and that's where a lot of problems come in. So that's what, especially early in my career, that's what messed me up was I kept getting hurt because my ribs would blow out and stuff like that because I just couldn't stop.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but it is interesting how much detail goes into long drive. I mean, I think a lot of people look at it as just smash the ball as hard as you can and then that's it. And, you know, there is a grid, and why it is kind of long, you know, kind of wide, it's really not that wide. And like you and the other part too is like, you know, you got to factor in wind conditions and, you know, because there is going to be some slope on the course you're on. I mean, the ball's going to take some bounces and all that. And like you said, I mean, stuff that we didn't think about in terms of deceleration and all that. And there is way more technique than just a really strong, really fast guy getting up there and just hitting as hard as possible. And that's the stuff. I mean, how long did it take you to kind of learn that? Because when you started, you probably just were like, hey, man, because you were an athlete before. Right. I mean, I think I read just like your Wikipedia real quick, and it was like you were a damn good sprinter. Supposedly, you're a damn good football player. So, I mean, you were used to these sports that were just like brute strength, let's just go, and now you've got to kind of like dial it back and put this little bit of finesse and detail into it. How long did it take you to kind of learn those little nuances for long drive?
I hit balls till my hands bled. I mean, it's funny. If you look at my old pictures, I had wide receiver gloves on. And the reason why I had wide receiver gloves on is because I would wear through golf gloves and I didn't have any money. And so I was like, well, these last longer than golf gloves. So that's how I actually, and, you know, it wasn't, no one said anything at the time. It wasn't illegal. I mean, I wasn't the wrist strap and it wasn't like it was sticky, but it was literally just to save my hands. And so, I mean, I had a thing where I was at Life University, and they had a golf club that I was a part of. And for $100 a year, you got to hit unlimited balls at the range. So I literally hit balls. Ooh,
that's all a deal.
Day long. I stopped going to class. I was like, hey, I'm going to be a pro at this. So I need to put 8-hour days in at the range. And I put 8 to 12 hours in at the range, hitting balls and learning because I didn't have any formal teaching. I had to teach myself.
So you caught the golf bug pretty bad, or did you see it as like a career? You know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you. You know, when I first started, man, being a professional long driver wasn't a thing. It was funny. One of my best friends died like 3 weeks ago, and he was the
sorry to hear, man.
CEO of Volvic. He was the president of Volvic USA. A guy, Don Shin. You may have heard of him in your talks with Volvic, but I remember one of the last conversations he had with me. He was like, man, I remember when we first signed you, no matter how crazy and outlandish the stuff that you were saying was, because it wasn't possible at the time. He said, you actually did every damn thing that you said you were going to do. He was like, you're legitimately King Midas. He was like, I've never, ever seen anything like that. Because the stuff I was talking about doing wasn't even on the radar at those times. You know, saying I was going to make a living or I was going to have $100,000 contracts and stuff. No one did that back in 2011. It was not a real thing. And so you just had to, I just decided to put in the work. I wanted to be a professional at it. Obviously, I caught the golf bug, but I caught it from a different sense. I caught it from being physical chess, you know, seeing how hard I could push myself as a human being, how in tune with myself I could become, and how great I could end up being. That's
super real.
Yeah.
Set a goal and attain it. I mean, setting goals for yourself is huge, and speaking things into existence, I mean, that's a real thing. You can manifest good things to happen in your life, and then you got to do the work to get there. But we talked about the irons. We got to talk about the driver. I mean, what driver are you playing these days? What shaft's in it? And is it like 0 degrees? What's the deal?
My long drive setup, I have the company Rev. They actually let's go for a walk. How about we do that?
Yeah.
You want to go for a walk?
Take us for a walk.
See some gear.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Gear.
We need the tour.
All right. Need the tour. Oh, hold on. Before we do that, I got to go to the coolest thing I've ever gotten. And I hope you all really put this out there because it's legitimately the coolest thing I've ever gotten.
It's going out.
So here we go. Here's the coolest thing that I've definitely gotten. So there's this lady named DePauli. She lives in the UAE. This was what was made for me for clearing Niagara Falls.
Whoa. Oh my God! Look at that thing.
It's a gem paint.
How are you not wearing that?
And then on the back, it literally has my silhouette on the back.
Oh my God!
Dude, that's crazy.
The custom medallion with the gold rope on there.
Yeah, it's
too?
like 11
as the
carats
chain?
or something like that. It's
wow! Holy!
Do you ever rock that thing? You wear it like out to the club?
I don't go out. So. Once in a blue moon. But here you go. I figure since you're a guy, here you go. You ready? You sure?
Yep.
You're positive?
Yep. I don't
know.
know.
Yeah, now
the way you're setting it up, I'm not sure.
All right, let me see if it allows me to turn my camera. It doesn't allow me to turn my camera?
Oh no!
All right, well I have to do it this way. Then you ready?
You just have to manually flip it.
This is my golf shoe club.
Look at that shoe! Oh my God!
There's so many shoes there.
I need like a top 3. What are your top 3? And you got to show them a little bit.
Top 3. Well, you definitely have to go.
That's a serious shoe closet.
It's a serious closet. Like
the master pair.
Oh, those are sweet.
Yep, azaleas.
Yeah. Go with the azalea.
Love them.
Off-whites would be my second one.
Okay.
What? Those are nuts.
Bomber off-whites. And then
shout out Virgil.
Can I do a top 4? Because it's a really close one.
You could do a 5, man. You could do 10.
So then,
I'm a huge shoe guy, so oh my God,
dude, that is nuts.
The orange laces on there.
So this pair, for obvious reasons, and they're beat up, but
the Kobe's. Those are sweet.
Rest
Kobe
in peace,
beans,
man.
definitely.
Those are nasty.
And then, well, my 5th pair, I don't even have because I don't have the shoes I won world championships in. I gave them away.
Oh,
you gave them away?
I gave them away that. Yeah,
that's nice of you. That's nice of you,
but in the stands, and that night I gave them away.
Okay. For the kid.
I hope they got those things displayed somewhere.
I don't even know. I gave one to each kid, so that was that. Oh, okay. Then I'll go with a 5. These were, I need to get them retouched, but it was a Rose's pair.
Oh yeah, gosh, that's sweet.
So yeah, that's that.
Do you have a guy that you go to like do custom work, or someone from the company's?
No, I've got a few people that I go to for custom work. I'll send them to you so you guys have them. But yeah, Funky Fresh Footwear, he's got like 3 or 4 people, and then there's this guy Sab One, who does them as well. So Yeah, and then
Dude, that is a huge closet, man.
Yeah, I turned a room
that is,
into
that
a
is
closet,
a huge
so
closet.
I got all that, shoes, and
Do you have like you have a strong sneaker game too, or is it mostly golf
that's
shoes
just one.
that you have
So
that are cool?
the sneaker closet actually goes here and goes there, and it's all over the place. Like,
dude,
I love it.
So like teamed up with House of Fleming. You know who they are.
Yeah,
and we got some skins, Jake.
Oh my God, Croc skinned out.
Yeah, so then got another pair skinned out. Yeah, it's not
Tursky's moving in with you. He's just gonna move in. Hopefully, you're size 12.
Put me an air
he's moving
mattress.
in.
I just need an air mattress in that room, and I'll just sleep in there.
All right, we'll take you to what you really wanted to get to. It's slightly out of hand, but it's the way.
I understand fully. Like if I turn my finger, like if you saw everything that's down here, same thing. Like I'm in my basement. It's a workshop. Yeah. It's got clubs everywhere. Like I'm with you.
You only have one pair of shoes, but you have a bunch of golf shafts and clubs.
He doesn't get it. Does he? So here you go. We'll try this one.
Nah.
All right, there it is.
Oh, dude, it's like set up like a legit like shop too.
I mean, that's like
fire.
That's like a golfsmith in there. Look at all those
Seriously
staff bags too. God. Oh my God!
All the drivers lined up. I mean, I'm impressed too how clean and like how organized it is. That's pretty awesome.
It's like
for real.
All right, so we're in obviously staff bag heaven here. One time
crazy
where Wayne and Drano Trap Golf is in the building there. Bowling bags, all kinds of stuff. So,
love that.
But the driver I use is made by Rev. It's called the Toxic. It's got a pink top, so pretty much everything I do is pink. I had 2 aunts die of breast cancer, literally back to back days, like 3 days apart.
Wow.
So that's why everything is pink. Here goes this camo shaft that we were talking about, right? So it's pink camo shaft. It's got switch grip on there. So that's my driver. The driver I won world championships with, I actually do still have that though. It's right here. So it was a 2.5 degree crank Formula 6 head.
2.5. I'm not getting that airborne. I'll tell you that right now.
With a Rev shaft, black camo. So that was that.
How many inches do you play that shaft?
46.
Okay.
Oh, that's not that
so
bad.
Not crazy long. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm only.
You probably got like you got a really stiff shaft on there. Is it like?
Yeah. So this
quintuple X.
So at 46, they freak out anywhere from 271 all the way up to 296.
Yep.
Yeah, 296 is heavy. That's big boy.
That'll do it.
So obviously the game of long drives changed now. People are doing like 230s and stuff like that. But I'm still pretty standard with my old school stuff. That's what I kind of use with that.
Where do you top out ball speed wise?
I'm just starting back. My issue was I shattered my hand and wrist, so I had 5 broken bones between the two.
Ooh.
And
that's
so
tough.
I went, and actually the reason why we were so late on the podcast was I ended up going to the superstore and hitting on the foresight. I got up to 215 today, so it's great though. I'm starting to come back. The doctors told me I'd never hit again. So
wow.
How'd you hurt the hand?
I was playing in the Diamond Resorts event. Was trying to raise money for my foundation, Grow the Game, where we were trying to raise money for black golfers, and broke the hooker handmade in half on the second swing and played all 4 days. So,
well,
I was raising money, man. I couldn't quit. We had pledges and people had pledged, and you just got to do what you got to do. So, sucked it up. I looked at it from the stance of I had enjoyed the game of golf. I had my time in the sun with the game of golf, and if that was how I went out, that's just how I went out, and I was all right with it. So, it is what it is.
That's real.
Yeah.
So,
how respect.
Like there's a lot of talk about that now. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of talking about too about like growing the game, and there's a lot of accessibility to the game that a lot of young kids don't have, and yeah, like how do you view that? Of how do you get more kids into the game, especially kids who don't necessarily have that access yet?
So you got to make golf cool, right? The first thing you have to do is there has to be an acknowledgement from OEMs, and there isn't. There's not a OEM out there that has recognized Black history or that has quote unquote black influencers. If you look at Roger Steele, he's with Callaway now, but there are a lot of great players out there that there's no content that caters towards black and brown people. And if you don't make people feel welcome in the content that you put out there, then you can't expect people to really feel comfortable in that environment. And it doesn't happen. Whether people want to accept it or not, golf is still a very white and conservative sport. And until that part changes, it's not going to grow and be, multi-faced. It's just not going to. Obviously, and you hear the thing all the time about people say, oh, well, there's no one stopping you. There's no one telling you that you can't go play. Well, if you don't make me feel comfortable, it's kind of like stopping me. It's kind of like going into your in-laws' house and your in-laws hate you. You're like, hey, you're free to come over when you want. Nah,
no, thank you, though. Yeah.
Appreciate the invitation.
Appreciate the invite.
Real invitation, but yeah, we'll roll with it. So that's the issue with that. But I mean, I think if these OEMs looked at some of these players that are professionals, whether it be on the APGA tour or the women that are on the Epson tour right now, and sponsored these ladies and used them for content, or took these guys and used them for content and made more black and brown people feel accepted and welcomed into the sport, if they saw more people that look like them, I think that it would change a lot of things. I think that it would help grow the game. Now, as far as seeing more black and brown people on the PGA Tour, easiest way I can give it to you is this. Big fella, how many companies are there worldwide, if you had to take a guess?
Golf or just overall?
In life. How many companies? Oh. Just give me a number
that's a big question. That's a tough one.
I mean, it's got to be like 50 million.
Okay, 50 million is a good number. So a company could be 2 people, 2,000 people, 200,000 people, 2 million people in a company, in theory, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the top 50 companies are called the Fortune 500, right? There are 500 CEOs in the Fortune 500, right? If I look at the PGA Tour, if I include full status, conditional status, and medical status, there's maybe 200 people on the tour. If I looked at the LPGA and I took all those numbers together, I would say in theory there's about 175, but let's say 200 to be fair, okay? So at the highest level of professional golf, you actually have a better chance of being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company than you do to be at the top level of golf.
That's
wow.
I mean,
I never thought about
math
it like
isn't
that
wrong
from that perspective.
Yeah, your math isn't wrong.
So when people start asking me that question, play better. That's it.
Play better.
That's it.
Play better.
Play better. Want to get there, play better. I mean, and so that goes back to the whole thing of people not understanding how hard it is to get there. The problem is you look on your TV and every week there's 144 guys or 154 guys playing in the tournament, or 144 ladies playing in the tournament, and you're so accustomed to it, you think that it's easy because you can reach out and touch it on your TV. Well, how much access do you have to Fortune 500 CEOs? None.
None.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see them on your TV that often. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you do, something really, really bad is going on, or something really good happened, and then it goes away very fast, right?
Right,
so
right.
That's true.
That's the reality of the situation. And I think if people started viewing it from that stance, they'd have far more respect for the people who have accomplished those things, but also they'd start looking at their goals a little differently. And that's kind of what we're doing with my foundation, is helping people truly understand how hard and how tough it is to get there. Do I think that there are black players that have amazing talent? Yes. Do they need to play better in the critical moments that would get them there? Yes. Do I think that we have people who can get there? Yes. I mean, I look at Willie Mack as probably the best example in the world, who still does not have major sponsorship. I mean, he played in 7 PGA Tour events, made 5 cuts, missed his 2 cuts by 1 stroke apiece. There's no one else out there who gets sponsors exemptions who has, most importantly, no status on any other tour. That is the kicker.
Wow.
Willie Mack does not have Korn Ferry status. He has bottom level PGA Latin status. He's not Canadian status. He's not PGA, China or Asian Tour status. He's not Euro status. He is a regular dude who plays in many tours in Florida, and he was able to accomplish that and still doesn't have major club deal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
So then my question to people would be, if somebody does all of that and still doesn't get the fruits of their labor, then what makes other people want to go down that horrible, hard path as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about your foundation a little bit and what you guys got going on.
Yeah, so what we're doing this year, we changed it up, man. We tried to raise money and get people out there to play, and we had a lot of pledges fall through, so we were only able to raise $20,000 per athlete. Got them a clothing deal with Grayson, so they got a 2-year deal with Grayson, which is
awesome.
Obviously now everyone knows Grayson is JT, right? But they've been on staff last year and this year, and Grayson's hooked them up with clothes, when and as they need them and whatever they wanted, which was great. This year we kind of changed directions because we ran out of people who wanted to give money for that. So what we're going to do is help people get into Q school. So people who are playing well, and it's equal, right? Men and women. We're going to help supplement people get into Q school. Obviously, the 2 guys who we were helping, who we were unable to get them the full $50,000, if they're playing well, they're the first 2 pros in line. But our objective would be to take the 2 people who won the MAC Champ event, Cameron's event, and also the 2 people who win the minority collegiate event as individuals, and help them get to Q school. And then we'll also take some pros. So the goal would be to try to help 6 people if we can. 1 collegiate, 1 amateur as far as a high schooler, and then 4 professionals. And the reason why you take the high schooler and the amateur as far as a collegiate player is because you want them to understand early what they're facing. Help them understand the level of commitment that's needed from them in their upcoming years, which are going to be critical in them playing good golf. So that's really what we're doing with that part. Then there's another foundation that I have that does a lot of stuff in my community. And what we're really trying to do is buy back the block is what we call it. There's a lot of gentrification going on in the area that I grew up in. And instead of allowing that, we're trying to get people to really take pride in their own community. So we do mentoring with kids. We're actually going to take over a elementary school in 2022-2023 school year. And so instead of doing the whole backpacks and bikes BS, because I'm tired of seeing that, it doesn't help people. It doesn't. If you can't buy a backpack, I don't know what to tell you. You don't need a bicycle. Our communities don't know how to save money. People are constantly renting. They're never purchasing homes and doing things like that. So what myself and 6 former athletes have decided to do is we're going to reward kids with this program called Saving Christmas, where based on their academic performance, we're going to put money into savings accounts for them and start savings accounts while they're in elementary school and get people to really start talking about financial literacy in our community. And hopefully that'll start to change things. So
that's awesome.
That's great.
That's cool.
That's great. If people want to get involved, is there an Instagram page? Is there a website? So or should people follow you on your personal Instagram?
It's, for me, it's just Maurice Allen 360. So you can find that on everything. That's the easiest way to get on with me. There's growthegame.golf. And then there's the MA360 Foundation. So those are the 3 ways how you can find about all that. And then before you go, I'm going to take you through the irons if you want to see that. I know.
Well, yes, please.
I know there's one set that you really want to see. So, all right. So, there you go. That makes you feel better.
Oh, dude,
oh my God.
So, are they solid copper or just copper plated?
I don't know because I've been hitting them and they haven't changed. So.
Really?
There's no nicks.
That's a good sign.
There's no nicks on them that show anything underneath it. So no, it's just I think it's full copper, which is nuts.
That's insane.
So it's got
for the listeners only that aren't watching the video, he's showing off the Ito Boris right
got
now.
A recoil,
pink recoil shaft,
F5 125 recoil UST shaft in it. That's one set. Then I'll go to another set. I'll grab the 9-iron this time. These are the FH 1000s from
14s.
Which also
little lead tape back there.
Say it again.
Little lead tape on there too.
Little lead tape. And then these also have a limited breast cancer awareness recoil shaft in them.
Oof, those are sweet.
These are also
your shaft collection's nuts.
Those
man.
are the F.
Just that alone.
Then there's another set of of these
14.
14s, but these are the TS version.
Yep.
So this is the tour version. It also has a recoil on there. This one's got an old grip on there that you may remember. Old school.
Oh, the old Black Widow.
Old school Black Widow grip on there. The only American clubs I have that I played. So this was my first set of irons.
Oh, the CMBs.
Adam's idea,
Yep, Adam CMB.
Yep, so they've got a recoil in them as well, with the switch grip on there. One set of irons that I will never, ever, ever, ever give away or do anything with. These are my dad's irons, so they're not going to go anywhere with this stuff.
I3
Classic
blades.
Ping I3s.
Yep, I3 blades. They are, believe it or not, 1 through 9.
Wow.
Have
really?
the 1 through 9 on those. Here are the Rev irons that we were talking about. This is what the Rev irons look like.
Ooh, those are beautiful.
So,
yeah, some nice looking
Very
blades.
clean.
so they also have a recoil in them. You know,
You're big on the recoil
big on the
iron
recoil.
shaft. Sure.
Driving irons, I stick really hard with the Ping crossover. So
Yeah, I saw.
I go hard with the crossover.
You probably hit that so far. How far do you hit that thing?
300, 280 to 300. So it's a shaft in it there.
Super casual.
Now they also have one with a another crossover, little lead tape, but it's got the Rev shaft in it. So this is what the Rev shaft is.
Oh,
That camo. That pink camo.
So my wedge shaft. All right, I'll pull out what you like. The first one. So wedges. I don't know. I got a ton of wedges over here, but here are it's boy wedges.
oh,
These
so crazy.
These still have a little bit
dang.
of rainbow on them. So this is a
It's that rainbow finish that really puts it
yeah.
over
So
the
it's got a
top.
black Rev, Black Knight shaft in it. It's a 160 gram putter shaft that I put into a wedge.
160
For
grams.
what? For what reason did you do that?
So everybody has this thought that you want your wedges to have a lot of spin on them, and if the stiffer the shaft, the less spin it has. But actually, when I put this Black Knight shaft in there, it makes the ball spin a whole lot more. It checks better. I don't know how or why, but it really does it because it freaks out at 335, 340 CPMs, but it's 160 grams. It's heavy, but it works out. And so it comes in pink as well, and then it comes in a blue. I got the blue ones over here. Over here.
Where did you come up with the idea for that, though? Like, was that like something you just decided to try, or did somebody like at Rev like, hey man, like this may work?
No, I just
like,
wanted to do it for the hell of it. Because so the way I've always looked at equipment is I've always had to go heavy and old, and that's traditionally how you go. You have to go older stuff to get heavy. And so then last probably cool wedges, I've got a set of these old schools.
Adele's,
Ooh,
yeah.
Adele's with the stamping on
Those are
them.
nasty.
My pride and joy of shafts, which gets me in so much trouble with people, but I really don't care. Would be
What are you about
it's
to pull out
on.
here?
I wish I could go to the car. So I have a couple sets of them, but there's a set on a pair of Proto Concepts, which are also Japanese. How funny is that?
Okay.
But they're on my 14s as well, which I had a torch finish set of 14 irons done a long time ago. But these always get me in trouble.
The Black Lives Matter shaft.
Black Lives Matter.
So, but the thing about it is, what we did was we literally put all the victims' names on. So if
on
you
the
look
shaft.
at each shaft, 2 through pitching wedge, there's a different set of names on each one. And so I had a bunch of the families reach out and say thank you because I did that and I play with those clubs. And for me, it just gives me a different sense of thought. And then last but not least, I'll show you this.
All the putters. It's a lot of putters.
Coolest putter award probably goes to the Masa putter. It's a putter from Japan, made from a company. Guy does like samurai swords. That's what the family used to do. And started making
with the pink dots all over it.
They made
that's
nasty.
Coolest ping putter. So I've got a few of them. I've got the old school wide blade JAS. And so all my putters have been finished by a guy.
Look at that torched finish on there, too.
So NorCal, the guy, Carlos over at NorCal, he and I have been friends forever. And he did all of those. I got this one from Mr. Solheim himself. This is an original finish that no one has seen on a ping.
It's like rainbow.
It comes from ping this way.
Screenshot it.
Yeah, good luck getting that from ping because it don't happen. They gave it to me and I had to promise them I wouldn't sell it. I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I'm never gonna sell that.
Didn't Bubba have one that was like a kind of similar to that?
So that's the right hand version because they asked me. They said you can have anything you want. I was like, give me the right hand version of Bubba's putter.
Yep. I'm about to say, I remember Bubba having one that had like a similar little rainbow finish to it.
And then I've got this ping, which is really going to get you. So Carlos did this one as well.
Oh, it's all. Oh, dude, it's like all like Damascus.
The style that you have in your collection is so cool, so unique.
So yeah,
like you got some of the most badass custom.
So this is another JAS with a Polynesian theme to it.
Yeah, it almost looks Damascus, like the way they like laser etched it.
Yeah.
So they.
Dude, that's all the face on the bumper. That's sweet.
Face on the.
So that's that. And so all these have that Rev 160 gram shaft in it. And then the guys from Sick and I did something similar to the Sick putter.
Oh yeah, like that, like straight going down the top line.
Yep. So that's the.
I didn't know Sick could get that artsy.
Oh, look at that! The face on the face on the face.
Yeah, so Carlos did this as well.
That looks like Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Then they did another one, similar as well. So it's got the faces on this one. It's just a different color on this.
Dude, that thing is sweet, man. They did some
I'll
sweet
send you
work.
some stills on it. So yeah, if you guys, Carlos from NorCal, he did that. And that is kind of what's in my bag. It's a lot of bags, but that's what's in the bag.
That's pretty awesome, man. You got a hell of a collection, that's for sure. There's some sweet stuff in there. Do you do your own like work? Like, do you do your own club work, like glue up shafts?
I don't do any of that. I mean, I know what needs to be done to it, so I've got everything written, but I don't. No, I don't do any of that. But yeah,
that's sweet.
Glad you guys had a moment to come and check out what I've done over the years, and pretty cool. But I'll definitely send you guys some steals.
That's a breathtaking collection. Seriously. I mean, some of the coolest stuff.
Well, here's the funniest part to you. I've given away more than I have in my possession right now.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet.
Give stuff away.
I can only imagine. Yeah. But that is a sweet room, man. I like that room. It's giving me inspiration of what I need to do.
There you go.
If my wife lets me.
I just realized my custom game is just
work
whack.
on it, man.
Like,
We'll get you together, man. We'll definitely get together. What I'll do is I'll send you guys one of these Rev shafts you can try out in your driver or something like that. That'll be my gift to you guys.
Dude, that'd be awesome. I'll gladly review it on my other podcast for sure.
That'll be good. I'll make sure that. Matter of fact, I'll have them send Golf WRX a package. I'll have them send you guys a putter shaft. I'll get it done. Don't worry about it. You guys let me know. I'll have them put together.
I'll send you an address. It's not going to be for the Golf WRX headquarters though. I'm going to have it come to my personal apartment. I'll take a look before, and then I'll make sure. Yeah, right.
Cool.
All right. So this was one of like my favorite podcast interviews ever. I appreciate the tour. I appreciate the conversation. Let's end it just with one question. Obviously, 0.00001% of people will ever hit a golf ball as far as you. But what is like your number one tip for amateurs who are trying to hit it farther, whether it's a swing tip or a training tip or something like that? Something to get the people hitting the ball a little bit farther out of their shadow.
Fun. That's it. I mean, it's kind of like baseball, right? If you're a baseball guy, you don't try to hit home runs. You just try to focus on the sequencing. So you figure out your sequence and learn your sequence and don't try to hit it hard. If you do the sequence right, it'll do it on its own.
Simple as that.
Sense.
Maurice, I really appreciate the time. This was so much fun. You're welcome back on the podcast.
Hey, we'll do it again probably at the end of the year, maybe leading up to World Championships. Hopefully I'll be in amazing shape by then. And
hell yeah.
try to see if I can go back there and show the world that I'm not an old man who's dead and put some stuff together.
Hey, we were both born in '81,
luck,
so I know your pain.
Man, I'm 40. I'm the
pain.
second oldest person to win a world championship in the open division. So see what happens.
Hey,
like you said, just keep having fun. Focus on the sequencing and keep having
That's all
fun.
I'm doing, man.